Hi, welcome back to ODE YouTube channel. Today we are here for another versus video. And today we are comparing two pens, one very famous, the other one not that much, but also an interesting pen. So today we are comparing the Montblanc Meisterstuck 149 with the Senator President. So pens, as you can see, I think it's not hard to know why I'm comparing these two, because they obviously have stuff in common, at least the shape and size, and there are stuff that keeps them apart. And that's what we are going through right now. So, first thing about this versus video, you can check both pens here, they are almost the same size, and this is the Montblanc, this is the Senator. And what they have in common, obviously, the most important thing is the color. They are both black with gold trim. There are some options for the Montblanc. You can have these in kind of rose gold, and there were some I think it's also available in silver colored trim, so there are some other possibilities, but it is mostly available as these, black with gold trim, and the platinum, the Senator President, is not available in any other variations that I know about in terms of color and trim. It is available in gold and steel nib, but that's a different stuff. About the finish, this is how they are. The other options, as I told you, there are not many. Talking about the size, you can see the size is very comparable. And let's see, this one, the Montblanc, has 146 millimeters. This one has 145. So this one is 1 millimeter shorter. The width of the pen, the maximum width, is 18 millimeters. On the Senator, also 18 millimeters, and the biggest diameter here on the section is 13 millimeters, and the same with the Senator President. So in that sense they are quite similar. Now, going for the weight, there is some difference between them. The Montblanc weighs 37 grams, while the Senator weighs 26 grams. So this one is 11 grams heavier. None of those are heavy pens, but this one is definitely lighter. About the filling system, both are filling system. Both are piston filler pens, so they share the same filling system. However, there is a small difference in this filling system. The Montblanc has the turning knob here, so if you rotate this, you'll be activating the turning knob that you can then check it when it goes. I cannot do that now because it's full of ink, but when it goes all the way down, you can check the end of the piston going here, the seal of the piston going here on the ink windows, that you cannot see now because the pen is full of ink. And in the Senator, you will have the same thing about the ink windows. I think you can see here the ink windows a little bit in some angles. So you can also see the piston going right there, but it will not happen if you just rotate this little thing, because this is not the piston itself, this is just blind cap. and this blind cap gives you access to this turning knob. So if you want to turn the knob, you have to use this. This takes us to a place where we think if this is really useful or not, because this will be an extra part that you may lose, because imagine that you don't turn it, you turn it and you put it somewhere and then you fill the pen and forget about it. So that may happen, or maybe because you have to screw and screw more, maybe you can get to crack it or destroy it. I think that's all theoretically possible. I don't think that is a problem. In my opinion, there is even an advantage, because in some pens it doesn't happen with the Montblanc, because when you post the Montblanc, the cap will not rest on the piston filler, to rest here. So it will, if you rotate the cap when the pen is posted, you will not activate the turning knob. If you do the same with the Senator and you put it right there, if you rotate it a little bit, then it will take these out. So if this cap rests into that little piece, it is better that that piece is not actually a working part, it's just a protection part to the piston knob. So this is interesting. We are talking about piston filler, so we go to the ink capacity, and about ink capacity, the Montblanc takes around 1.7 milliliters of ink, so quite nice. 1.7 is good. This one takes around 1.5, so I think the pens are really comparable in terms of that part of the function. About the materials they are made of some metal things that are gold plated. These ones are gold colored. I'm not sure if the plating is gold or other material, and they are both made of resin or plastic, or I don't have enough knowledge to know which one is a resin, which one is a plastic, and I think plastics apply also to resin. So they are both plastic pens. However, the material, the resin of the Montblanc, has a different feel and looks more sturdy than the resin on the Senator. The Senator looks a little bit more, if you ask me, I would say maybe this plastic is softer. But if the plastic is softer, you may think it's not as high quality, but maybe it will resist better if they have any shock or they fall or something. And that is a problem, not a problem because the pens are not meant to fall, but that is something that may happen on the Montblanc. This Montblanc was bought in used condition because it's quite expensive, and when I bought it I noticed that there were some problems on the cap. I'm not sure if you can see, not really that visible, but you can see there is kind of a rippling effect here on the cap. When I bought it, in second hand, I took it to a Montblanc store to be sure that the pen was real and to ask about that, and they obviously offer themselves to sell me a cap that would cost, I don't know, 200 euros or something like that. And they told me that this rippling effect is like a compressing effect of the pen being dropped. So it has that part. So we know there are some trouble with the materials. I'm not saying that material is good or bad, I'm just saying that material may have this problem. If you hold both pens, this looks more substantial. It doesn't mean it's better, but that's what I feel. So this is about the materials, the plastics. Let's just take a look at the design of both pens. The Montblanc, of course, has the Montblanc logo there, which is kind of the top of the Montblanc with the snow on the edges. The Senator has nothing there. When you put them together, we can see that the proportions, the size and proportions of the cap are almost the same. But on the Montblanc you have no engraving here saying this is a Montblanc, and on the Senator you have a wider and flatter clip that has the S for Senator. The variation of this pen with the gold nib has a different clip. Then you have a cap band. On the Montblanc you have a wide cap band and two thin cap bands. On the Senator you just have a wide one. On the Montblanc you will read Montblanc Meisterstuck number 149. So this is the engraving on the wider band. The other two rings have nothing. On the Senator you will have an empty space there, and then you have a frosted part that says Senator President. And these are the differences between the pens. Then you have the barrels that are quite similar, but the Montblanc, it has a wider barrel and a smaller end part. So it is interesting that this one holds just a little less ink, but actually this part, mechanism part, would take more room. I'm not sure how much room they will take inside the barrel itself. Now, the pens unscrew, the caps unscrew. This one takes 1, 2, and 3/4 of a turn, and the Montblanc will take less than one turn to unscrew. And now we come to the nib part. When you look at the nib, we'll find that we have two different nibs. The nib on the Montblanc is an 18-karat gold nib, a beautiful nib. It is a number 9 nib, which means it is a very big nib. The nib on the Senator is not a small nib, it is a number 6, but in this case it is made of steel, not gold, but there are versions with gold nib, and so it is a different pen. We have the plastic feed on the Montblanc, and I'm not 100% sure, but I would say that the feed on the Senator is a ebonite feed instead of a plastic feed that we find on Montblanc. The nib on the Montblanc has a different cut. Not sure if you can see that, but it's quite clear. This is kind of an architect nib. It has an architect grinding. And this one is just a fine steel nib, and you have the F somewhere there on the base of the nib. When you look at both pens uncapped, you see that the dimensions, the width is very similar, but the Montblanc is actually a little shorter. So when you look at them, obviously you find that actually the kind of mechanism takes the same room, although it looks, when it's kept, it looks that the Montblanc is bigger, but this way you can see the distance from the nib to the end is the same. However, this one has a bigger section, this one has a smaller section, so very small little details in difference. Both are German pens, and I think that the Senator is clearly inspired on the Montblanc. The price for the Montblanc Meisterstuck is, at least at Appelboom's website, 775 euros, and for the Senator it's no longer available. It costs on eBay with steel nib around 150 euros, so it's much cheaper. The next question, kind of the last question of this versus video: can the Montblanc be used and posted? Yes, it sure can, because it is a big pen and it feels great on the hand. And can it be used posted? Yes, it posts deeply, safely, but I think it becomes a little bit too long. It is big enough to write with it and post it. Let me just put it here, posted, just for you to check. And the Senator, the same questions. Yes, it is more than good to write and post it, and you can post it also and it really works well posted, because the cap on this one seems lighter. It doesn't seem so back heavy as that one, but you can use it like this or without the cap posted. In both cases it becomes too long, or they become too long, and if you compare, the Senator has a smaller nib, so it doesn't go that far, but if we would align both nibs to have the same starting point, you'll see that the end of the cap of the Senator will make it bigger. So this is the biggest difference between these pens. This is the comparison, and let's just show them on paper. Now we have here a Rhodia pad, squared sheet of paper, and let's just see just a last comparison between the designs of these two pens. I think that when you compare both pens, I would say that the Montblanc looks a little nicer. This one looks more chunky because it has a very wide cap band, the clip is kind of plain. This one, you see, it has some more care on its construction. I think this is something that we may notice. When it is uncapped, the Montblanc is more impressive because it has a bigger nib, of course. But actually, the Montblanc has this kind of shape that makes it very attractive. So if you write with this pen in a meeting and you forget the pen on the table, I would say that the chances that it may disappear are quite big, because this is very recognizable and people will know it is an expensive pen. On this pen, it doesn't look that expensive. But if you just want to look like that you are using a Montblanc pen, I think you may fool some people because it has the same kind of look. However, it doesn't have the logo there, so people may, that's something, that may be a fake Montblanc. Actually, it's not a fake Montblanc, it is a pen from other brand that shares some of the characteristics, mostly the visual characteristics of the pen. So if you ask me which one looks better, I would say the Montblanc. Which one has more value in it is the Montblanc, because it has a very big gold nib. This one has a steel nib, but we are talking about a difference of more than 600 euros. And if you find this one with the gold nib version, it will not cost even half of the price of the Montblanc. So I think it's kind up to you if you want to have the real, very classic, well-known pen, or if you want to go for a brand that is not so well-known, but that made quite good pens. By the way, I don't although Senator is still around, but it doesn't make fountain pens anymore, I don't think you will have any service to the pen if something broke, and on Montblanc you can, but sometimes on Montblanc things are so expensive that I guess many people that have a Montblanc with some broken part, they may prefer to let it be as it is, or find someone that knows how to work on Montblanc instead of going to a Montblanc boutique, because they are very expensive. And so let's just see how the pens perform on paper. And first, this is the Montblanc 149. I forgot to write there. First, Meisterstuck. This pen has an architect nib, and this is quite visible if you write like this, and then if you do this, because the horizontal strokes are wider than the vertical one. So if you do this, you have some line variation, but not how you are used to, because they will not be thicker when they go down. They will go thicker when they'll go to the sides. So it is interesting. This pen is quite wet, as you may see, and this one has inside the beautiful Montblanc Daniel Defoe ink that I'm running out of it. So very beautiful pen, it writes really well, perfectly, but this kind of grind, this is for me, not for everyone else, really doesn't go for me well, so I think I will need to change the nib of this pen or someday sell it because I can't really use it. It is nice to have on some videos to show how a Montblanc looks, but not my kind of favorite pen because of the nib. I think if it had a regular fine nib it would be amazing, and I guess someone would be willing to trade an architect nib for a regular fine, but I don't know where I can find such, how to even exchange the nib. And here we have the Senator, and let's write with it also. So this is the Senator President. This one has a fine nib, and the nib is really fine. The nib on the Montblanc has no feedback. The nib on the Senator has quite a lot. And it is a feedback that almost reminds me of the feedback of Sailor. But it is quite good. About the line variation, if you press it hard you can have some line variation, and I think it's not bad at all for a steel nibbed pen, but you have to press hard and it's not the natural way of writing. Another thing, this pen is not as wet as the Montblanc, but an architect nib obviously has more surface of the nib touching the paper, so even if the feeding system is exactly the same, it will be expected that the Montblanc, that an architect nib in the same conditions would lay a bigger amount of ink on paper. So this is quite understandable. This one has inside an ink that has no real name that I call my red. It is an ink mix that I made some years ago, and which base is mostly Parker Quink red with other inks that I don't recall right now, but these are the differences. So a very good smooth nib, but this is an architect one, and this one is a very nice but feedbacky nib, a little bit smaller, so a little less impressive. Both pens are quite good, but they go for very different prices, and also the brands have very different marketing strategies, because one is kind of a daily user pen, the Senator, and the other one is a luxury brand actually. So you have these differences. I'm not here to say which one is the best. I have to say that I like the feel of the Montblanc a little better, but this one I think is a better deal for the price. If I had the right nib on Montblanc it would be perfect. However, I know that I would be more afraid of taking the Montblanc with me out of home than I would be with the Senator, because it is less expensive. So this is what I had to show you. This was kind of a long versus video. You can check the individual reviews of each pen on the channel. I will put them on the description below. I hope this is useful, and I'll be back soon for another video. Bye!